Hello and welcome to Autocar Professional. We're at the launch of XEV 9S and it's a delight to be here with you, Nal, and understand, first of all, the pricing, the way you got it right with all the segments. How was that? How difficult was that? How is that going to help you undercut even the ICE buyers? Will that give you an incremental set of buyers there as well?
Yeah, Prerna, first, thank you for having me on the Autocar show. So we had the benefit of a whole year of getting feedback from customers. So we launched our 9E and BE6 last year, and it's been a year we've sold 30,000 cars to customers. So there's a lot of feedback which has come, and that has helped us really start to segment the market. So the way we looked at it is cars which are larger than 4 meters,
Yeah.
20 lakh price point plus, that's about 70,000 vehicles per month. Right? And that's 50% of the market from a revenue share perspective. So it's a huge market to go after. And that's really what we are focused on. The second feedback was a lot of our customers who bought a vehicle so far, 80% of them are actually non-Mahindra buyers from the past. They came for the design, they loved the design, they liked the style, they liked the tech to that extent. But I still had my loyalists, if I may call it, the guys who like to buy a large SUVs with a large SUV stance to that extent. They still felt that they wanted a vehicle which goes to that kind of design sense and design style to that extent, and the 7-seater which goes along with it as well, which we are known for. So in some ways, we have taken the InGlow platform and we put on a top hat which melds both of it. It gives you the SUV stance, it gives you the 7-seater space that people are looking for, yet retain some of the traditional pieces which the InGlow brought for me as well.
Yeah, it's also very interesting. Even the battery, the 70 kilowatt hour, that was again a very sweet spot. Helps you price it so well, maybe sort of undercut the road tax benefits as well. So how did that sort of strategy play out? And if you could say, how do you foresee that sort of, again, getting that incremental set of demand?
Yeah. So I think firstly our ability to go achieve that is an important piece. So InGlow helps us with that. The modularity of my battery helps me go to a 59, I can do a 70, I can do a 79 to that extent.
Yeah.
And really comes back to the feedback from the customers, right? A lot of the customers are like, listen, 500 kilometer range is great for 79 kilowatt hour, but I really need about 450, 420, somewhere in that range. And I'm very happy with that. So why don't you give me something which is not as expensive to that extent? It's more accessible to me. So it's a little bit of the targeting of the segment, and in certain parts of the market, definitely it makes it a lot more attractive for them. That's what we're really going after, and the ability for me to do it modularly helped me a lot.
Yeah, if you could talk about the kind of incremental volumes that it will get you. You're talking about 7,000, it's going up from 4.5K at this point. How will that sort of play out?
Yeah, so when we launch this in Chakan, we do what is called installed capacity. So it's a line capacity, if I may call it that, right? But we don't generally operationalize all of it. Operationalization is getting employees put in there. It's about getting our supply chains lined up for that volume. We operationalized about 5,000 capacity last year when we launched these two products. And we've been consuming about 80-85% of that over the last year or so. With this one, we are adding another 3,000 capacity. So we take the operational capacity to 8,000 by April or so, and that helps us kind of achieve what volumes we want to achieve out of this.
Right. And how will it sort of play out with the demand scenario with GST narrowing the gap between ICE and EVs? Does that sort of play an impact in terms of the consumer mindset and demand psyche? Do you see that sort of demand rationalization happening at this point from an EV buyer point of view?
Yeah, so it's a good question. Firstly, it's too early to say how it plays out because GST change happened along with festive. So there's lot of ups and downs which has happened as well. But the reality is a bulk of our products were in the 40 plus GST range.
Yeah.
They were at 48, 45. It came down to 40 and this is at 5. So yes, there is a differential change, but it went from probably a 43% change to a 35% change to that extent. So it's not a big change for those customers to that extent. Of course, you're talking of a vehicle which is a 28% GST vehicle to 18%. Then it's a huge drop to the extent. So we don't see as much of an impact, but having said that, it's very early for us to see how it will play.
Yeah. But with your aggressive play in the charging infrastructure space as well, do you see a lot of ICE interested buyers, ICE focused buyers sort of coming into this? Because again, the pricing is really undercutting what a similar segment in an ICE buyer would sort of want. So how will that sort of play out?
Yeah, we certainly hope that we're going to give them a credible option to go after. A couple of years ago, people used to talk about the compromises I have to make to buy an EV vehicle. I have to pay something extra. Last year, we started talking about parity. And honestly, if you look at it, you saw the prices here. It's about disparity to that extent. We're actually quite a bit lower than where the ICE buyers are. So it's a question of giving choices. We have a solid base of 700 customers. When we launched 4 years ago, they're all coming up to a point where their leases are renewing as well. So it's a choice we're giving those customers as well.
Yeah, if you could leave us with your charging infra play, because
Yeah.
that's again going to be very instrumental in sort of making sure you have those incremental volumes and the demand, because that's another, even though the range is there now, but charging infrastructure still sort of in the psyche of an EV buyer, it plays out. So how will that strategy play out, your charging infra play? Because as I understand, your charging networks are open to other OEMs as
Yes.
well. So how are you looking at, from an overall infrastructure point of view, in say the next 5 years, like a long-term view?
Yeah, we did a little bit of research before we got into this. And one of the key insights for us is about 65 highways in the country which carry about 90% of the traffic. So we said, well, let's focus on those. And then we talked to customers, and most of them said, listen, I want something which is available, which is up and running, and which is fast. And while I'm doing this, I want to be somewhere so it's a decent place for me to either have some coffee or whatever it is. So really what we have done is most of our chargers we're putting in places which are on the highway. They're all 180 kilowatt. We will not go below 180 kilowatt. So you're in and out in about 20 minutes if you want to charge up. It's in places where there are good marquee restaurants available for us to operate as well. And we have a very strong O&M operating partner put in place so that we're making sure that it's all up and running. And we've integrated very well into apps, integrator app, EV aggregator apps to that extent, as well, or Me4U app as well, right? And we're doing it for the industry in that sense. So we are opening up for everybody. In fact, if you see the first charger we put out, 70% of the folks have come and charged the vehicles. They're actually non-Mahindra vehicles, in Murthal for the example, right? And in the last 10 days, if you look at it, average charging time is 18 minutes.
Yeah.
So they're in and out largely. They're stopping for a coffee, they're charging, and they're leaving to the extent. So we really see this playing out well for us. Utilizations are decent at this point in time, and as you know, the awareness comes in, we are hoping that the utilization gets to a 5% level, 5-6%, which is where you are starting to break even at that point in time. But again, it's something we're doing for the ecosystem, and therefore we're opening it for everybody as well.
Yeah, and I think that will obviously help build that awareness as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, on that very positive note, thank you so much and all the best.
Pleasure. Thank you
for spending time with us.